Hey, what's up? My name is PJ, and in this video, I want to teach you guys the principles of three-point lighting and why I think it's so important to know even if you don't shoot strobes. Hope you enjoy. Okay, you're not going to believe this, but three-point lighting has three main components. First of all, you have the key light. Then we have the back or rim or hair light, depending on who you talk to. And lastly, we have the fill. So in this situation, here is the background. Here is me, I'm the subject. And we're going to be lighting the subject, me, with the key light. So that's the beauty dish in front here. It's lighting me from the front right. The key light is your main light. If nothing else, you need the key light to light your subject. It's going to be lighting me from the right side. In the back here we have the rim light. It's a YN564 flash with a little snoot on it, and the point of the backlight or the rim light is to create some separation, just make a two-dimensional image feel three-dimensional basically, add some dynamic and some depth. In the front here we have the fill light. In this situation it's a big silver reflector, and the point of the fill is to control the depth of the shadows from everywhere that your light misses. So if my face is being lit on this side, then that means where the key light is not hitting, it's going to be dark. So if we use the reflector, the fill light, to bounce in some of that light from the beauty dish, it's going to bounce up, hit the shadows, and control basically the level, depending on where you place the reflector, control the level of the fill light, where the shadows are, where the key light misses basically. So now let's do a live demonstration. All right, this video is more about the principles than the gear used, but I know it's YouTube and you guys love this sort of thing, so I will show you what we are working with today. As usual, we have the 5D Mark III, and I'm rocking the Sigma 35mm 1.4 art lens. On top, we have the Pocket Wizard Plus X, and I'm triggering the shutter remotely with the RF 603-2 transceivers from Yongnuo. That's just the camera I'm filming with. My key light for today is going to be the Godox ES400P or X Expert or X Energizer, whatever you like to call it. My rim light today is the Yongnuo YN564 flash, triggered with a Pocket Wizard Plus X as mentioned before, and I've got this cardboard box, shoebox snoot on it just to limit the spread of the rim light. The fill light in this situation is simply a 5-in-1 reflector. With the silver side, it's going to bounce a bit of light back up from the beauty dish to be the fill. Okay, so full disclosure, this first photo I took accidentally because I didn't realize the flash had gone to sleep, but I needed to add one of these in anyway. It's basically the exposure, and it shows you that where I'm at, 1/200th of a second, f9, ISO 250, there is no ambient light in the frame. So basically, without the flashes on, this is what you would see when I click the button. So yeah, this next one is the exposure, the exact same settings with the key light added. So you can see it's a pretty nice exposure on the face. The exact same settings, just we've added one light. The main purpose of this is just to show that we are starting from scratch. Without the flashes, there is no ambient light in the exposure. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to build up this exposure from scratch. This first shot that you'll see, the first series of shots, is just with the rim light added, or the backlight, whichever you like to call it. As you'll see, it is very subtle, and the reason I'm showing this first is because it tends to get lost in the overall exposure. So you can see it's just lighting the side of my face, just giving some depth, some separation, and when you see it in context, you really understand what it's doing. But it's nice to look at it now like this, with nothing else added, so you can see it on its own. Okay, now you've seen the rim light on its own, and you've seen the key light on its own. Now let's have a look what happens when you put them both together. So we're shooting on the same exact settings as before, but have a look at the extra bit of shape and the extra bit of depth and dimension that it brings to my face. Even if you're a natural light shooter, you can actually use this to your advantage. For example, if you had a subject with their back to the sun would become the rim light and the ambient light in the front would become the key. It just adds that extra depth, and it shows that you really know what you're doing with your lighting, with the way that you look at light. The last piece to this puzzle, of course, is the fill light. As you can see here, I'm holding this giant silver reflector. You can even just see on the video how much light it's kicking back up. But basically what it's going to do is reflect some light from the beauty dish, fill in the shadows under my face. As you can see here, it's you would call it like a beauty, a glamour lighting style. A lot of the stuff that I do doesn't really use this kind of lighting just because I quite like dark shadows. I like contrast. As you can see in the video as well, this was the point where my main light died and I let out an expletive. But anyway, fill light, it's the final piece of the puzzle, and it involves bringing up those shadows, having complete control over the lighting situation. So basically, like I said at the beginning, any part that is not touched on your subject by the other lights is the fill light. So just to wrap it up, 3-point lighting, even if you don't shoot strobes, it can be natural light, it could even be video. It's an approach. It's not about the angle of the lights or the modifiers used or whatever. It's just knowing the principles. If you do that, you can light your set or whatever you're doing, you can do it in layers. It's very much the strobist mindset. You start with the ambient exposure, you build it in like we showed you in this video. You add the key light, you add the rim light, you add the fill, and you can adjust the different layers separately if you understand this process. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and you learned something, give me a big fat thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.